Dragons. One of the biggest mythical creatures of all time. We all know about them. But, as a Pokemon type, what should have happened? Well, that's exactly what we discuss in this episode of Type Talk. Welcome to the Void, everyone. The Electric Void here, and I'm bringing you the first episode of Type Talk. This episode, we are talking about dragons. Now, dragon types. You should probably all know what they are. One of the biggest mons in the meta game. Type used very often, has some of the coolest mons ever, but how should they have fared in Pokemon? Well, let's just talk about dragons themselves for a bit. Not the Pokemon type, the actual mythical creature. So, if we look at them, a lot of lore says that they have a really thick hide that could not be penetrated by a sword for a hide or their scales or whatever. Usually, a sword would just break if it made contact against the scales. Now, how that would work would be, how should that work in Pokemon? Well, let's just think about that. Would that mean that actually, let's just right now talk about their typing. As a dragon type, let's see what they should be weak to, super effective to, and immune to. I think immune to steel would have been interesting, because all steel type attacks would just break. Now, it is, actually, if you look at the actual game, it's not very effective to steel, which is interesting because I would think that, it would, be immune to it because the swords wouldn't be able to penetrate it, but whatever. A lot of lores have it differently. Another thing is, think about dragons. Usually think of giant reptiles soaring through the skies. Then you have things like Chinese dragons that don't even have wings, or some European dragons that, can't even fly. So, let's just go through and think about some of this stuff. So, one of the things that I personally think that they should be weak to is, I do agree with this, other dragons. Because if you look in any books about dragons or whatever, they fight. They fight for a lot of things. Fight for territory, they just fight against each other. Fight for mates or whatever. Depends on what you're reading. Or watching a movie, I guess. But if you just pair those together, they fight, which means that they should be super effective to each other. Another thing is, I do agree with the with ice being super effective to them, because if anything is flying through a blizzard, it would be ruined by the blizzard. But then you have to think about, but how about Chinese dragons or non-flying dragons? Well, in most lores, dragons live in caves. At least most lores that I am familiar with. And if they lived in caves, wouldn't that mean that they wouldn't be able to get out through the cave? Which means that they wouldn't be able to hunt, and even if the dragon didn't require food, it couldn't even get outside of its cave to do anything. So, I personally like it being weak to ice. Now, something I find a little interesting is electricity is not very effective to it, as well as fire, grass, and water. All of those are not very effective to dragon. Now, I get fire. They are fire-breathing creatures. So that, I think, should stay as a type that it resists. I also agree with grass, because what would grass do to this giant creature? But what about electric? Now, you could go both ways and say that the scales could deflect it, or that it could get shot in the back while flying and just plummet to its death. So, because those are two very different things you could think about, I say it should just be neutrally effective. Because I personally think it should be super effective, but it also, depending on what you're going for, could be not very effective, or even immune, depending on what lores you're looking at. So I think just neutrally effective. Let's just forget about that. I also think it should resist normal type because of that same hard scale thing. But if you look at a lot of lore, one of the easiest ways to kill a dragon would be, well, they're not easy to kill, but, so, a sword doesn't do anything, arrows don't do much, but here's the interesting thing. In some lore, magic takes them out. In some lore, magic does nothing to them. So, how would you think you would have to do it? Well, what I'm thinking is, one of the things it should be weak to is, dang it, I'm losing my train of thought. I don't know why. So I'm thinking something that, you know, wouldn't actually do much. What would something that would be able to be super effective to a dragon other than Dragon and Ice? The actual games, they have Fairy, which makes 0 sense. So, what should we do about this one? Well, I'm pretty sure that a dragon should be weak to actually rock, because I've been reading certain books that in them people have been able to take down a dragon while it's flying by taking out the wings. What's an easy way to do that? By breaking them. And the underside of the wing probably want to have like a bunch of scales on it. And so you could shoot arrows there, or, like, use a catapult to take it out. I don't know. I personally think that could work, but also might not work. Tell me what you guys think in the comments. This is all speculation. But now let's go on to, something a little different. Let's go on to its actual, overall stats. I'll give it 1 through 10 on each stat. So, let's go to HP. Are dragons that known for having a bunch of HP? Just think about this in any lore you've had. I don't think so. Sure, they could withstand hits, but that's just because they're defensive. So I'm thinking a 7 out of 10 for HP. Attack, 9 out of 10, because they're huge physical attackers. And as for special attack, that should also be a 9 out of 10. Because some lores, they're good with that, some lores they're not. Actually, no, 8 out of 10 on special attack. I take that one back. So, as for defense, I'm thinking, it should be a 7 out of 10, because, sure, they're super defensive in some lore, but some lore they're not, and I don't want these to be the most overpowered things ever. In terms of special defense, I think that should be just a 5. Actually, yeah, 5, because I don't think special hit would do. I think special hit should be able to take it out pretty easily. And then as for speed, I'm thinking the speed should be an 8 out of 10, because some lore they're insanely fast, some lore they're really slow. Depends on what culture of dragons you're looking at. Personally, I grew up with the like super popular American dragons, like super popular here. But yeah, so I'm just going to go with that, and those are the stats for the dragons in the first episode of Type Talk. So tell me what you think of this series in the comments below. I'm not sure what to think. I just thought, hey, why don't I do something like this and see if people enjoy it. So yeah, if you guys like it, I'll include more episodes, more things in the episodes and stuff. Pretty much just continue the series and make it better as it goes. This was the experimental episode. So yeah, leave a like if you enjoyed this video. Make sure to, because I need to know whether I should continue the series. Leave a comment on whether I should continue it. Tell me what you thought of it or whatever. And make sure to subscribe to join the Void today, and I'll see you guys in the next video.